Frank comes today, he's going to talk about something really, really valuable for everyone. But if you do have specifically some nutrition questions that you have off the top of your head that you want to ask in the chat right now, please drop in a few things. I'm going to ask you to drop in your, first of all, your wins and struggles from the previous week, and then your goals for the week coming up. So for those of us joining for the first time, hey, Victoria, welcome. You still, you owe me some videos, okay? Don't forget later. Anyway, all right, so today we're going to do, so usually in our check-in calls, they're kind of just accountability and community calls, but moving forward, we're going to have some specific topics as well that we're actually going to discuss in the calls. So today, we're going to talk about our wins and our struggles from the last week, our goals for the week coming up. And then Frank is going to come in. He's going to talk about something called the dial that you might have heard me. If you've been in a few calls already, you might have heard me talk about something called the dial. If you've been a Thriver for a while, you already know what the dial is. So this is going to be a refresher. And then if you have any specific nutrition or like mindset questions that you might have for Frank, please drop it into the chat under your win, struggles, and goals. Actually, yeah. Yep. So yeah, so drop that in. Ang saya! Where are the beautiful faces though? Can we take a quick photo before, although I'm ready.
See, Rach is here too.
I know. Hi, Rach. Welcome. It's been ages. Please drop then your Rach has a podcast. So please support the Nip Nook. So all things.
Excited ka na, Coach?
Huh?
Excited na ako for
Oh,
you.
you promote ko na kasi I want to be on it.
Yeah.
But really, it's really valuable. So please do drop that in the chat too, so that we can make sure to support. Tapos, specifically, I want to welcome, of course, our mommy swords who just started. It's been like a week, I think, a week or two. So I'm quite happy that you're here because we're getting into the habit of jumping in the call right off the bat. Gamer girls are not morning people. All right, so I'll share mine and then we'll read through yours as well, so that we'll give a chance for everybody to drop in their wins and struggles and goals. Yeah, Jerica, all right, yay. So we've got some mummies that are Parang Friday really is better than Saturday. It would. Because the last few Saturdays we tested out a Saturday. And it's been kind of hit or miss. Anyway, what am I talking about? Sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not. And this is but this is a Thursday night for you, Andrea.
Yeah.
Right? Tulog na si baby. Yes. Okay, so I'll just really quickly jump in. Wins for the week. Personal win, I guess I'm feeling a little better. I've been feeling really off for the past couple, well, since you got back from Canada. Parang hindi na ako naka-recover. Parang isang buwan na kalahati yung jet lag ko. Hindi ko alam. But I've been struggling with just some physical things. So I'm actually designing a gut reset program that will eventually get trickled down to you girls once it's all been tested by my guinea pigs. Hi, guinea pigs. They're somewhere here too. And then, so that's, I think my gut's really totally off. So we're designing something. So when you're in the program long enough, you will know that, and you will discover that when the coaches have something going on and they want to design something, you will become the guinea pig. So yeah, so the win is that I'm starting something. I'm also almost done with my prenatal program that's going to be put into the app. So that's another program offering because of the Mamafit Circle of Life. The mommies that have completed the postpartum that suddenly are pregnant again now need a program too. So that's going to be in our new app, which is still an ongoing win. We are getting closer and closer to the official launch. So those of you that are in Trainerize right now, you'll eventually get moved over to our actual app, the Thrive Life app. So that's super exciting because you're going to be able to keep your program for EVs. Kasi previously yung Trainerize may, diba, nag-expire siya. So now we're going to be able to keep that. So that's an ongoing win. Struggle, I guess, is that I feel like crap for the last couple of weeks, but I'm working on it. And the goal coming up is to just maintain my own physical progress, hopefully physically better. I actually lost my sense of smell this week. So I was like, may COVID ba ako?
Oh
That's not,
no.
wala akong anything else. Just like a really bad cough and just stuffy and bloated. Just overall, I feel like crap. And then I lost my sense of smell all of a sudden. It was, uh, I swear it's like, but like for 2 days, pero negative swabs, everything, and then it just came back again. So who knows, right? So my goal is just steadily get better physically and to just keep continuing getting our app ready for launch. And so that's it. That's my goal. I'm gonna read through their wins and struggles and goals, Frank, just really quick, and then they're all yours. Okay. Maku. Wins, kind of consistent in the exercises. Struggles are waking up early. I totally get you. You know, I used to be a not morning person.
Yes.
I hated mornings so bad, like my whole life. Okay, I used to manage fitness first, and I had to teach a set number of classes. I had to give myself 3 classes in the morning just to make sure that I would wake up. Kasi kung isa lang klase ko, hindi ako gigising to teach that class. Anyway, but I guarantee that as you get further down the mothering journey, um, you will eventually become a morning person and you will love it because that's the only quiet time you're gonna get. All right. And then yeah, moms are not morning person people, but we will eventually have to be because wala yun lang yung morning time natin. Well, for me anyways. Julie. Okay, sige, go lang. Baby's trying to sleep. Just if you have a free hand, just type in your win, struggles, and goals. And if you have a question for Coach Frank. And then Lay's got a win here. Qigong meditation class. Ah, nice. Never felt better and breathed better for weeks. I love it. We're going to be doing a lot more meditations and breath work as well as we go through the program, as well in our calls. So I'm excited to get that.
Pero coach,
Huh?
share ko lang.
Yes,
I
please.
was ready for I was wearing very comfy clothes, but I didn't realize that the qigong is parang breathwork with poses that are like similar to Tai Chi and actually in the
Yes,
same family.
quite fancy.
And I'm like, okay, am I dressed for this? I thought we were gonna sit down. Alam mo yun.
Yeah.
So kaya pala 1 hour siya. Kasi ano siya, meron din siyang active, poses. So yeah, which is good. I mean, but it's just that I went there with a sort of wrong assumption of how the class was gonna go.
Please drop that in the chat.
So I
Maybe
was pleasantly surprised.
we can go there all together. That'll be fun. But yeah, active meditation is actually something that isn't very well known, but it's so powerful. It's so good. We've been doing an active type of meditation as well, just to balance out our energy centers, and it makes such a difference. Iba pala, iba din yung sitting down and just being like um sitting in quietness, and then there's also movement and being mindful, and it's so good. Struggles, cough never went away. Diba? Ako din eh. What's going on?
It's time of the year.
Yeah, it's the time of the year it is, I guess. Yeah, that's true. I always say that every year. I'm like, oh, why am I sick? And he's like, you say this every year. Anyway, that's just part of our whole dynamic. Diba? You gotta keep them on their toes, your husbands. Challenges, getting my workouts in this week. Yeah, feel ya. Remember, and again, Frank's gonna take over and talk about that, but that's where the dial comes in. So I'm gonna leave that to Frank later. Victoria wins 0. There's always one win, I promise. Like no matter how small it might be, just have a think of your day yesterday and think of even just one thing that might have gone right.
But
Okay.
sometimes, okay, if I can jump in for a second.
Okay.
Sometimes we can find a win in our struggles.
Yes.
And it's even the fact that you survived what you were struggling,
Yeah.
or that you learned something from the struggle. So let's look at the struggle here. So haven't done any of the exercises, juggling 3 kids plus a newborn, barely have time for anything else. Okay. The word barely means that you did have some time for anything else, that you did do something else. So you didn't just juggle 3 kids and a newborn, but even then you still juggled 3 kids and a newborn.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes that's a win. We have to, and we'll talk about it in the dial, but sometimes like I've gone through times where my win was showering.
Yeah. Same.
And that's why I'm a little bit late today, because I showered and I shaved. Okay. You know how long it takes, girls, to shave a head and face? Okay, it's not just brushing my hair. I have to shave this thing, right? I have to make it look shiny and
Takes
good,
some
right?
work to be this pretty.
No, but seriously, like sometimes and I know moms will relate to this more than dads, but dads will as well. Sometimes just having time to shower is a win. Okay. So we can't be picky with the wins. We have to recognize the wins. We have to get to a point where we will recognize the wins more than we will recognize the struggles.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're here right now.
So Victoria,
today.
where are you?
Right here in the middle.
Right there, right there, right there. I don't see your face, but so Victoria, think about it, and I want you to, before the end of this call, Angeline, back me up on this, okay? Before the end of this call, you'll have another win. You'll have multiple wins.
Yeah.
Okay, and what you're gonna do, your job today, Victoria, is to all tell us about that win. Okay.
Give us a thumbs up if yes.
In fact, I'll get you started. You're on this call.
Exactly. You made the time to get on this call. And I'm sure you're doing like 13 other things while being on the call, which is completely fine, but you're still here.
Yeah.
Feeding the kids see. Oh, so showering counts as a win? Yes, showering counts as an absolute win. If you had 5 minutes to hide in the bathroom from your kids, that's a win.
And husband.
And husband, yes, yes. All right, really quickly, I'll just go through now. Next one is Rach. Completed 2 flex workouts this week na, yay! Sakit ng knees ko. Are you doing some of the knee stuff that I sent you?
Yes, coach. Oh,
Let's add those in.
yeah.
I think then let's do. I'll see. Can you send me like exactly where the pain is, what the pain, what is causing it? Because I'm sure you've been diagnosed now with it. Diba?
Yeah, it's all right. I think I'm also just sore from the workout because my entire body is sore. So baka parang siguro baka mali lang ako ng feeling ko, because my entire body is sore, parang it adds up to it, Parang so pero grabe ang sakit ng katawan ko sa flex. So, whenever I finish a workout, I'm like, should I go back to boot camp?
You can
But
alternate it.
Yeah.
but after every rep, in fairness, I feel that I get stronger. And
Yeah.
I feel like I can do the next rep better kahit pagod. Pero parang my endurance is better also. So, yeah, I'm happy naman.
Progress.
Good.
I love it. I love
Are
it.
we recording this?
Yes, I.
Okay.
That's my win. I remember to.
Didn't I ask you guys for testimonials for flex? There you go.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you. Go continue on my progress. Absolutely. That's why we're here. Bagong struggle. Yes, we'll all have our nosebleeds.
Joanna
No, I haven't.
lost
Oh, yeah.
8 kg.
Joe, 1.8 kg. I love it. Struggles to
Awesome.
squeeze in the
Wait,
middle.
you're on mute, Joanna.
Okay.
Oh, you're so
But-
beautiful. Hi.
I'm not feeling already.
I love it. You're all down.
I'm afraid to go on the weighing scale, but we need to log in our progress. So nagulat ako, 1.8.
That's awesome. Actually, I can see it in your face too.
Hindi ko pinit yung dress ko, so I had it altered yesterday lang.
Oh, and oh my gosh. Oh, it was loose.
That's cool.
It was so loose na. Hindi ko
I
expect kasi.
I love that.
Sabi ko 20 minutes per day, tapos ganun kalaki.
Yes, diba? That's what I mean. Like it doesn't need to be an hour. You'll be surprised with the amount of progress you'll make with just 10 to 20 minutes a day. And then that's the best part is surprising yourself with your progress. So I love that. Well done.
Yeah, thanks to you.
No, thanks to you, you're putting in the work.
Yeah.
We're just giving you the tools. All right. And the goal is to continue on, and you're gonna keep going. Okay, there is. Who's next? Mahu. Hi, man, Mahu. I believe in you. Heidi wins. Finally was able to get more than 4 hours of sleep. Yeah, she got 6 hours, which 2 extra hours is a big deal. After a disrupted week, I was able to go on walking pad for walk run again. Yes, survived such a crazy week. Peaks and valleys. Despite the craziness, got my goal of 8K steps per day since Monday because it was that crazy. I got the kids to school and exam week is almost done. Yay! Struggle. The stress of last week almost caught up. Hubby had fever, had scratchy throat, yet really is uso. Also, this past week, right after, super happy Monday post in the app was emoji of a pagoda, for lack of words enough to describe. Calm before the storm pala yun. But at least you got that. You got the calmness before the storm. Top it off exam week for both kids. That's us next week. So the goal is to just not, didn't like actually survive next week. Goal 8 hours of sleep at least twice in the week next week. Nice. This view is also one of my wins. Yeah, that was really nice. I like that.
Yeah, it's not often we get to
Can't
work
see
by the
Coach
pool.
I know. Okay. All right. Again, thank you for sharing all that. It really is powerful to just sometimes to just sit in and tune into what your wins are. Being in a state of just gratitude for even the smallest win will carry you over into so much into your day, right? So start getting used to being in that attitude of gratitude for your wins. And recognizing our struggles also does help us to realize what wins can come out of them. Okay. I'm going to turn you over to Frank over here. No, live Zoom. But for those of you who don't know him just yet, this is Frank. All right. So Coach Frank is our nutrition, mindset, and habit coach. He's been doing this now for the last, this is now hey, this is going to be your 10th year. This is your 10th year of being a coach.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
realized, yeah. So, yeah, so he's got some really valuable stuff to share with you today that has gotten us through pretty much everything over the last 10 years. And has been really helpful in just maintaining progress and success. A decade now, yes. So yeah. All right. So I'm gonna turn you over to Frank. Thank you for letting me see you today. And then please take a photo at some point.
Yeah. Did you take one already?
No, not yet. Because there's some people came in. Yeah. Jerry ka nag-share ka na ba?
We have more people than like a second.
Yeah. That's why.
Should we take a photo before Mindy leaves?
Yeah, for those of you that can take a quick like on of the camera, just a quick one for a photo, and then you can go camera off again if you like.
How do we put the blurry background? I don't want to show everyone our messy.
Well, they've already seen it. Out of it leaked. Sorry. Ah, the baby.
Wait, where do I have a shadow? Okay.
Okay. Angeline, can you take our photo?
Angeline.
Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yay. Okay, girls, enjoy. Take notes.
Well, they have already.
Oh, sorry, I'm also.
Oh, did we put the link to the dial worksheet in the group? Had we done that? No. Okay, I'm gonna put it in the comments now. It's a PDF. So we're actually gonna work today. We're gonna do some work. You guys ready?
We'll send it in the messenger group as well for those that missed it. We'll post this recording in the group.
Okay.
The groups.
In the tribe group?
No, in the messenger groups.
In the messenger group. Okay. It'll have to be a link in the messenger groups. We can put it on YouTube and then just put it unlisted.
Oh yeah.
So they can watch it from YouTube. Okay. Who's doing core coaching right now?
Who's in Trainer Eyes?
Ooh, okay. Trainer Eyes, sorry. Why isn't it posting? I typed in? What's going on? Okay. So why isn't it pasting? This is my computer. Why am I having technical difficulties? Copy Dropbox link. Not pasting. Paste. There. Okay, so I just pasted a link. It's a Dropbox link to a PDF that looks like this. I'm going to share my screen. It looks like this. It's called the dial worksheet. And this will be one of the pages, my nutrition dial. Okay, just so that you know what you're downloading before you download it. Okay, it's a PDF, and we're going to be filling these out. Okay. But I'll explain it first. So I'm not gonna, you don't have to fill it out right now. So I'm gonna open this up here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so apologies for being a little bit late. Yes, I had some things to do this morning, so I didn't keep track of time. But that's where the dial comes in, right? And we'll talk about that in a second. So, okay, so raise of hands or thumbs up, who's in the Trainerize program currently? Who's doing the core restoration currently? Okay. Marcushian. Okay. Who has done it before? Who has done the core restoration program with Mindy before? Okay, Rach. Okay. Who is currently in boot camp or who is currently doing either boot camp program? That's our membership program. So boot camp program or flex. All right. All right. So all of you who haven't had a chance to raise your hand or put a thumbs up, which program are you in?
They're probably most of them are in corporation.
So that's the Trainerize. So do they know like what am I calling the program? Core restoration,
Or formula coaching.
core formula coaching, core formula coaching, core restoration. If you guys are working with Mindy right now currently on the program, I need to know who's currently working on the program. Just a thumbs up or hands up or put it in the chat. Okay, there you go. There you go. So on the bottom. So Joanna, Jerica, Julie, Claire.
So the ones who aren't are
Okay,
Everybody
okay,
else
okay.
is-
So everyone is currently in the program except for
IDH.
the OGs. Okay. Okay. Awesome. And me, of course. But you know what? To be honest, and you guys can tell your husbands this. I have done the program. Yes, and it is hard.
Yes, he
It is
keeps
hard.
forgetting to do his core-centric breathing.
I keep forgetting to do my core-centric breathing, but you should actually have your husbands try it out, the core-centric breathing. It's hard. It's really hard for men. And just before we go into the dial, because we do have data fit and everything. We have programs now for dads and everything. This is something that we're going to try to incorporate for dads as well, because it makes a big difference. It's crazy. And I don't know, like this summer we went to Canada and we tried the core-centric breathing with my parents and with my family members, and they breathe in reverse, right? It's like when you breathe out, the stomach goes out. When you breathe in, the stomach goes in because you're breathing from your chest, right? So it's like a reverse breathing. So when we're trying to get them, even myself, when I started doing the core-centric breathing from the rib cage and then pushing down on the breath out, I had to do it lying down. I couldn't do it sitting up because it just didn't make any sense to me. And even when I was breathing through my rib cage, it was solely from the front of the rib cage and not from the side or even the back. So I have really tight ribs and tight everything and a sore neck. And doing core-centric breathing actually helps that a lot. Okay.
Fun fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Not so fun fact. So as men get older in their 50s and 60s, they actually develop diastasis recti. Because as men get older, the men kasi develop fat here, visceral fat in the tummy. So men actually, as they get older, you'll notice a lot of older men, it's the belly that grows.
Mm-hmm.
And then the chest kind of caves in, it's the tummy that gets bigger, right? So as men get older, they actually develop diastasis recti. So having men, like I have a lot of clients whose dads and actually husbands are a bit older, they have DR na pala. And their cores are very weak. So it's very important also for men to maintain core strength, especially as we get old, as we get, a little further up in age. So that's your
men can
DR fun fact of the day.
Men can have it's totally common for men to have pelvic floor issues as well. So yeah, get them involved. You don't need to get them to do it, but share with them the wins that you get from it, and say that Coach Frank said that men can have this as well, and it's something that Men won't want to try to do breathing. They won't do the things that are in boot camp, right? Because it's not weight training and it's not like, but maybe they'll do it secretly if they see you doing it. But we will be coming out with a program as well to help that, because it's common, but it's unknown. And also helps in the bedroom as well. So I know. Okay, so let's start with the dial. Is it normal to feel a bit nauseous while doing core centric breathing? Yes, I do sometimes. And that's because you're breathing out really hard. We do this this other breathing technique as well when we're doing, like Mindy was mentioning, the energy meditation that we do, and it's called internal organ massage. So it was when you're breathing out and you're sucking your belly in, it could sometimes like put pressure on your intestines and your stomach, so you can feel a little bit nauseous. Julie, send a message to Mindy because she's really the expert when it comes to this. But my answer would be like, yes, it is normal to feel a little bit nauseous because you're changing your breathing pattern, right? So it would be normal. Like, you know, like when sometimes if you're in a situation where you hyperventilate, you can sometimes feel a little bit nauseous. So that's your breathing, right? So it could be a little bit normal, but Mindy could, it's not not necessarily good, right? So Mindy could help you on maybe a different position at first until you get used to it and until you strengthen those muscles, until you can do maybe like for me, I was lying down instead of sitting up, and even Mindy went to the point of telling me to turn on my side, and when I turned on my side and I did it on my side, so lying down on my side, I could really feel, I could really focus more on breathing into one rib cage at a time, right? So she'll be able to help you out there and point you into maybe some modifications for you for that. Okay, so reach out to her, and I think Angeline can also jot down the question and mention it to Mindy. I'll mention it to her as well after the call. Okay, thanks for the question. If you have any other questions, guys, just put them in the chat. When we start working on the dial, I'll ask you guys to take your take off the mute, and then we can just share ideas and things like that. Okay. All right. So here we go. The dial. So some of you have heard of the dial if you've been here before. A lot of you guys are brand new. So again, just introduce myself. I've my expertise inside Thrive Life is when it comes to nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, and also fitness as well. So I run and I create the program for dads for DataFit, which is similar to boot camp. And I also write the courses and the programs for mindset and nutrition. The challenge that some of you have already been on, the 24-day challenge, has also been one of my creations with the help of Mindy. So there's a lot of other things that you can do to better your life and to follow your journey right now and to reach your goals post core recovery program. Okay, so once you're transferred over to the app, and I think Mindy mentioned that most, I think all of you will be transferred over to the app pretty soon. You'll be able to keep your program and also join any other programs as well that are on there through the shop, things like that. And we have some free courses coming out as well soon for you guys to try out. Okay, so that's me in a nutshell. My background was I started as a CrossFit coach and became a strongman and powerlifting coach as well. I was an athlete at the time, but that didn't last too long because I became a father and had some injuries as well. But then I focused more on helping people, but helping people not just, it started off as I want to also coach nutrition, but then I quickly found out, and also through my course, that there's a lot more to it than, you know, choosing what to eat or following a diet and doing exercise, right? Or following an exercise program. It's a lot more than that. We often yo-yo through our journey of weight loss or strength gains, or yo-yo through life when it comes to learning new things, you know, at work, or even sometimes even raising our kids. We yo-yo when we raise our kids. We have this idea that we want to raise them a certain way, and it's very difficult to stick to it sometimes. Okay, we let what we call, we've coined this recently, mainstream. We let the norm or the easy road take over sometimes. And the easy road sometimes when it comes to nutrition and fitness is not doing anything. Okay. Or even like we saw earlier, not celebrating wins, right? So today with the dial, what we're gonna do, I was gonna say hope to do, but we're not gonna hope to do it, we're gonna do it, is we're going to visualize what it's like to kick it up a notch. Just do something small. You could consider it as being a minimum, but I don't like to use the word minimum because we usually align minimums as being like not worthy enough. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by explaining the dial by using an example. And oh, perfect example. Just hold on a second. We just happen to have a fan in the other room, so let me put this here. So I like to use this example, but I've never used it with a prop. Okay. So, all right. So I use the example of a fan when I talk about the dial, but you can also visualize it as a stereo. What else? TV volume or anything like that. Okay. So the idea of the dial is that something goes from 0, which is off, to 10, which is the strongest. Okay. So right now, you know, air con's the same idea as well. So if I have a fan next to me and it's warm in the room and I'm doing some work and I have papers all over my desk, right? We use this paper nowadays, but let's say, you know, I'm jotting notes down and things like that, or I'm reading a book and I'm studying. If I'm warm in the room and I want to cool down, I grab my fan, I put it next to me, and I'm going to turn the fan on. Right now, the fan's at 0, so nothing's happening, right? So I can clearly and easily still continue to do my work, and the pages aren't disturbed. So, you know, you could use you can visualize the pages being all the tasks and the things that you have to do throughout the day or your week or your month, and they could be your kids. And right now you have them all calm, right? And everything's good. They're playing and everything's good. And you have some other tasks to do later that are over here on the table. Everything's okay. Nothing's disturbed. But you are, because you're not cooling down. You're warm. Bless you, Angeline. You're warm. You have to cool down. So you have to put the fan on. So the fan would be the things that you would do for your self-care, right? So the fan equals exercise. The fan equals choosing better food. The fan equals meditation. The fan equals a walk. The fan can even equal a 2-hour massage, a spa day, okay, a retreat. The fan can equal anything that you can imagine your self-care to be. The fan can even be a weekend trip or a whole week trip to the Maldives, right? So the fan is any small thing and every big thing is the fan. So as I turn on the fan, so I turn it to 1, okay? Currently I'm feeling okay, but already you see my mouse pad is flicking up, the curtains are moving, and maybe you don't hear me as well, okay? So maybe it's cooling me down, but maybe it's not cooling me down enough. So I would turn it up. Let's say I turn it up to 3. So now you see my mouse pad really going. It's really hard for me to talk now because I can't even hear myself. And if I had pages on my desk, it would go all over the place. See my mouse pad going, right? If I didn't have my keyboard on it, okay, it's going crazy, right? So now, because of the craziness that happened on my desk, I turned the fan back off. Does anyone recognize this as being a pattern that they do in their lives? I'm warm, I'm going to turn the fan on, but you max it out and it creates chaos in your life. So then you stop it. You put it back at 0. So that's what we often do in our lives. That's the yo-yo, right? We have such high expectations before we start a program. We have high expectations. We have all the intentions in the world to do it at 110%. And usually it works. A diet can easily work for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But it's like we're hiding something. It's easy to do something for 2 to 3 weeks and push everything else aside. But after a while, all those things are going to demand attention, and they're going to come imploding in. So what happens is we get rid of all those things that we were doing for our self-care. We get rid of the diet. We fail, right? We stop working out. We stop exercising. Who's done that before? Raise your hand, because I do it often. I'm coaching this right now, but it doesn't mean that I don't do it. Okay. Okay, good. It's common. So I want you guys to know that it's common, number one. Okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any of us here. It's common. We are bombarded with things, and especially as parents, moms, that like there's so many things coming at us left, right, and center. But we can get through it. We can choose what we do. Okay. And that's what we're going to do with the dial. So we're going to create our own dial. See, if I would have kept the fan at 1, there would have been a little bit of disturbance on my table, right? You guys wouldn't have heard, like, you probably couldn't hear me as clearly with the fan on, but you probably could hear me clearer when the fan was at 1 than when it was at 3, right? So I could still manage everything when the fan was at 1, but I couldn't when the fan was at 3. And then I wasn't doing any self-care or any good to myself by keeping the fan at 0. So the key thing here is that we need to determine in our lives what a dial would look like. So a dial can look like I was explaining earlier, like a trip to the Maldives with massages, a spa trip to the Maldives, and that would be amazing. All the benefits that I could get from that. But I think that would be a 10 on the dial, right? Something that would be as close to perfect. The dial could also be getting a coach, right? Getting a coach to help you in your journey. What does that look like on your dial? Where is that? So there's a lot of things that can factor into your dial, and the dial is not a make it once and it stays like that thing. The dial needs to adjust, needs to adapt to the time that we have available, the circumstances, our financial situations, right? And a dial can look different from nutrition to fitness to mindset to hell, even your home cleanliness, right? Your environment. We may have more of a capacity to do workouts than we do for nutrition. But does that mean that we neglect nutrition just because we're better at fitness? It doesn't. So I'm going to show you guys some examples of the dial, and then we're going to take the rest of the time to fill it out. So if you haven't downloaded the file, download the file. If you can, print it out, and you can write on it, or you can even write on it inside Acrobat. Okay, who's ready for this? No one. Okay, let's go. I know you guys are busy with your babies and stuff, or some of you guys are at work and or working from home. So I'll check the recording later. Rach, that's totally fine. Oh, Rach is already gone, but the message just came up. Yeah, Rach, when you watch this video, awesome. Okay, let's go into any questions so far on the dial. I just want to make it clear before we go into the worksheet. Any questions? If you're shy, you can just drop it into the chat. How about this? Before we go into the dial, and maybe just give you some time to think of a question if you have one. Those who have done the dial before, so I'm looking at Angeline, I'm looking at Heidi. Okay. Can you guys give us an example of the benefits of using the dial?
Well, for me, the dial helped me gauge what I can do, and it's a way for me to manage not only in every aspects. So in for time, for nutrition, for almost everything. Um and there are also things that I have to consider when doing the diet, like self-compassion and all those stuff. Since we are also uh we 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 are also moms and we're also parents, so there are a lot of things that we need to consider in doing the dial. So it really helps.
Perfect. Yeah, he's spot on there. Spot on. And I want you all to understand one thing is that, like Angeline said, there's a lot to consider when we're creating a dial, but it's practice. Nothing is perfect. Okay. I tell the kids, like the kids get upset because their drawing isn't perfect and stuff. And I actually told them, and I told Ellie this at a very young age. I think she was like 3. I crushed her a little bit when I said this, but it helped us later on, and it helped her tremendously. Because I was starting to see glimpses of perfectionism in both of our kids, because I was, and no one's ever told me this. I had to realize this when I was learning to be a coach, is that there's no such thing as perfection, right? When things are perfect, that's it. There's nothing else to do after. So why do we strive for perfection? Do we just not want to do anything anymore? Like that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, why strive for perfection? That means it's done. You're done. I don't want to be done. I want to keep going. I want to keep moving 1 foot forward, right? So I try, and I mean, like, it's been like, I realized that like 4 years ago, right? That's okay, Joanna. Go for it. You can watch the recording after. It took me 40 years to realize that there was nothing, that perfection didn't exist. So I have 40 years of like that to destroy. But it's true. There's no such thing as perfection. We just have to keep practicing and putting 1 foot ahead of the other. Your dial that you do today is just practice. Every time you do the dial, you know, we're going to do one for nutrition, for fitness, for whatever. And there's a blank one you can do for whatever you want. When you do it the first time, we're going to base it on what does a 1 look like to you? We're going to first jot down what a 0 is. Okay, and I'll explain that in a second. So what is your 0? And then your 1 is like 1 foot forward, 1 step ahead. So if you could do one simple thing today to be better tomorrow, what would it be? Okay. And we're going to continue that. Sometimes it's easy to go 0 and then 1 and then identify your 10. So what would be like something crazy if finances wasn't an issue, time wasn't an issue, and you knew everything about, you know, fitness or mindset or whatever it is, or you had the perfect person to train you? What would a 10 look like? Right? It'd be like, I want to be trained by The Rock up in the mountains of Colorado. Okay, like that's crazy, but that's, you know, that's a dream, and that's okay. You can put it as a 10. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's probably never going to happen. But that's the thing, like, we're not striving for a 10, right? 10 would just disturb everything in our lives. I would have to save up so much money. I'd have to fly all the way across the world. I'd have to be without my family for so long, just to have that happen. But hey, maybe one day it could happen. All right, Julie, no problem. Thank you. Okay, so let's go into Acrobat. Okay, so here's an example of the dial for nutrition. Okay, so we would identify first what a 0 would be, and a 0 depends on the person, right? So it depends on your situation right now. So usually a 0 is what brought you to this coaching program. Okay, so whatever you were when you were at the coaching program. So we could say 0 is not doing anything at all, eating McDonald's 3 times a day, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's fine. That would be a 0, but that's not your 0, because that's not where you were before. Or that's not even, if you want to end this call going 1 foot forward, you're going to put your 0 as what you are right now. Right? Example, if you haven't worked out yet today, then that's, or I would say like 0, sorry. So this is actually, being on the call is actually a foot forward, right? So a 0 would be where you were before this call, right? So you determine what that is. Where you don't want to be is what your 0 is. If where you are currently, you want to be better. You want to start like from today, from right now, you want to write down what that small little thing can be for your journey, then that's what your 0 is. You don't want to go past that. You don't want to be at 0. You want to be at least at 1. Okay, so here we've got the example of replace 1 meal with a less processed one. 1 meal a day with a less processed one. We're not talking about not processed at all. We're talking about like if your breakfast consists of a bowl of cereal with a 3-in-1 coffee and I don't know, a donut, right? Breakfast of champions. If that's your usual breakfast, then you could say, I want to replace at least 1 meal a day with a less processed one. So that starts with less. Remember the word less, right? We have to be careful the things that we write down. Because if you write down on your 1, I just want to replace all my processed foods. That's a pretty tough task. But if you write down replace 1 meal with a less processed one, then already that's an easy win. Because you can just look at your breakfast and say, well, I'm not going to eat the donut. I'm going to replace it with a slice of whole wheat toast. So for the majority of us before this call, I would have said, you would have done that and you would not have listed that as a win. Right? But it is. Or replace your 3-in-1 coffee with a black coffee. Cheers. How many people have gone through the Thrive program telling me that they would never drink black coffee, that they could only drink coffee with milk and sugar? And how many of them finish the program drinking black coffee? It's just training, right? Your taste buds can be trained. Or reducing the sugar in their coffee or the milk in their coffee, or replacing it with a milk alternative or whatever. There's so many things that we can do. There's so many choices we can do, right? The idea again of the dial is to realize that it doesn't need to be perfect. It's not an all or nothing thing, okay? I don't need to put the fan at 10 to start cooling myself down if it's going to disturb everything. There's other things that I can do. I can put the fan at 1, or I can study later. I can grab my pages and go down to a cooler room, right? I'm not stuck with the fan. I can do other things. I can study at night when it's cooler. If the sun's coming in, I can close the curtain. Right? Now you're starting to get it, right? Yeah, I'm seeing Maku's like, yeah, oh yeah, okay, I get it. She's waiting to write stuff down. She's got ideas already. Okay. So let's go through some of these examples again. So again, a number one is just one step forward. What's something small you could do now that would make you better tomorrow? You want to get that consistency in, you want to get the ball rolling, you want to get those small wins. Then it's easier to jump to a 2 if you're already doing a number 1. Okay. As we climb up. And then someday, look at number 2. Add a side salad to your lunch. Number 3, try one new healthy recipe a week. It's not about, planning a whole week's worth of meals that they all have to be like super healthy and you have to do all new meals. That's going to be so hard. Trying new meals for your family, every single meal for an entire week, that's so hard. So when we work on planning, if a client wants to learn how to cook or learn how to cook new meals, I usually get them started with 1 meal a week, right? And it's the more convenient meals. If you have time for breakfast, then breakfast is the easiest meal to try something new, right? Because breakfast stuff is quick. Lunch is also easier if you want to try something new. Dinners are a little bit more complicated, more complex. But then again, that's just the idea that we put in our heads, that dinner has to be bigger than lunch or breakfast. You can have dinner for breakfast. You can have breakfast for dinner. It really doesn't matter, right? So all these things that we tell ourselves, and we have to abandon those things, so these paradigms, right? Those limiting beliefs, so that we can properly do a dial. But in its own way, the dial will help you erase those paradigms. The more you practice the dial, the more you rewrite and you adapt the dial, the more you're going to start getting rid of those thoughts that replacing one meal with a less processed one is not worth it. That you don't have to follow a diet. You don't have to follow keto. You don't have to follow, whatever else is out there. Okay. If you're currently doing IF, and we get this question a lot, like, should I be doing IF? If you're currently doing IF, do it for the benefits of IF. Don't do it for the benefits of losing weight. But again, things like that are so complex that you have to follow it to every detail, then it's not worth it. It doesn't allow adaptation in your life. So that's why we stress the idea of the dial. So as we go up here in the dial, you have sit at the table for most meals. Now, who would have thought that as being a win? Right? It's a win. Sorry, I'm just trying to move this. Okay. It's a win for people that work in an office, that sit in front of the desk to eat. And that was me. I would, when I was doing graphic designing and I was creative director, like, I would never take my lunches. I would eat a snack while I was at my desk working. In fact, it came to a point where I wouldn't eat. I'd go the whole day without eating or drinking water or whatever. So sitting at the table for most meals and having a mindful meal and eating mindfully gives you an opportunity to eat slowly, which also has a lot of benefits to weight loss and also stress. So for this example here, so number 4, where would something like that fit on your dial? This is a big thing as well, protein. Protein should be included in every meal so that you can reach the amount of protein that you should be eating in a day. So having protein with every meal. The example of the breakfast that I mentioned earlier, there was no protein in there at all, except for the milk substitute that would be in the 3-in-1 coffee, which is very, 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 very small. Protein and a portion of fruit and veggies at most meals. So in this case, eating protein and veggies at every meal would be a 6 on the dial. Okay, so it goes up all the way to number 10, which would be run an organic farm and health spa, all meals prepared on the spot by a sports nutritionist, eat slowly with no distractions. Now, come on, that is not something that would be very doable for all of us. I'm gonna not even say the majority of us, for all of us, right? But that's what I mean, is that sometimes you're 10, you want it to be outrageous. Because again, you're not striving for a 10. If you make the 10 so easy, then you can't strive for anything more. Okay, which leads me to how does this dial work in your day-to-day? Okay, so after you've set it up and you put some ideas down, it's not perfect and you're going to be changing it, and that's okay. The idea is that you do it so often and you're so used to doing it and thinking up of ideas that you can do it on the spot. When you have plans to do, let's say, to sit down at the table for most meals, but something comes up and you can't do that. So how do you adjust your dial? It's okay to have expectations and intentions to be a 7 every day. Prep food for a week in advance, 6 servings of veggies a day. That would be great. For many people, that would be a 10, right? So you strive and you expect and you intend to do that. But on Sunday, when you're supposed to plan your meals and prep your food, something happened. You had to be outside of the house and you didn't have a chance to do it. So then do you just throw away the entire week because you didn't prep your food? Or do you adjust your dial? Are you okay with being a number 2? See, if you're okay with being a number 2, you can order in or prep meals on the spot. They may not be as healthy because you didn't put in as much thought and preparation into it, but you can have a side salad with every meal or with at least your lunch. So then you know for a fact that you have at least 1 serving or multiple servings of vegetables in your day. So it's easy to chop lettuce. It's easy to chop cucumbers. You have oil, you have balsamic vinegar. So when our expectations are up here and we follow something and we start a plan or something, and it's like, yeah, it's easy. It's easy. I'm just going to prep my food. Sunday, we're just going to like stay at home and I'm just going to prep my food. Everything will be okay. You're missing half of your ingredients on Sunday. You woke up late. The kids are rambunctious. One of them has a cold. Your husband hit his toe and you can't go to the grocery store. It doesn't mean that everything goes up in the air and you quit everything. You do what you can with what you have. And when we get used to the dial, it becomes natural for us to just adjust on the fly. Okay, so this was nutrition. We can do this for movement as well. So park further from the office to walk more. Who would have ever thought of doing that? Not taking the elevator, taking the stairs. That's a 1. That's something that we can easily choose to do. 10-minute workout next to the bed in the morning. So for some people, that would be a little bit higher up on the dial. So this could be something else. 10-minute stretch in the morning. 5-minute core centric breathing. Right? That's good for movement and your mind. Okay, so this again goes up as we go. And most of these are time, right? So more time doing workouts, more workouts, all the way up to number 10, which is intense daily training for tactical military job. Okay, so in this example here, which I'm not too fond of, most of it, except for 1 and 2, most of it has to do with the intensity of the workout and the amount of time working out. But remember that movement is anything that incorporates you moving your body, right? So it could be playing with the kids. It could be more walking. It could be more of taking the stairs instead of the elevator. It could be more stretching, qigong, things like that. Okay. It doesn't need to be working out. So I want to make that clear. Overall wellness. So this would be a mix of everything. So once we start doing, once we do the dials for movement, mindset, and nutrition, then we can do an overall one. So I want to just become healthier overall. So what can I do? What can my dial look like? Okay. This is where you can start incorporating other little routines and things to help the process. Right. So 5 minutes of wind down time before bed, right? Some people would say like the same thing for the morning. Have a little morning routine where I do a little stretch and things like that. By the way, that's going to be part of our upcoming free 7-day to energize your life program. Okay, we're having 1 day for small little actions, small little routines that you guys could do. So we have a morning one, an afternoon one, and an evening one as well. 5 minutes to plan for the next day's workouts and nutrition, or even the next day, doing a reset of your day. Regular 5-minute breaks from work for fresh air and sunlight. So for some people that could be, for some people we don't get enough sunlight, right? We stay indoors a lot. So that could be, stepping outside for at least 5 minutes a day, getting some sunlight. Turning off electronics 30 minutes before bed, reading a book and chilling out, daily walks outdoor with loved ones or pet your dog. That's crazy. Like if those of you who have dogs or pets, just petting your cat or your dog can really help with your overall wellness. We have toads. It's harder to pet a toad, but it does help, if you guys are wondering. So again, it goes up and up and up, all the way up to filled day with joy, play, fresh air, rewarding close relationships, work outside at relaxed, I don't know what that means. Work outside at relaxed, meaningful physical job. Quit contemplation and meditate. Quiet contemplation and meditation. Okay, learn how to read. For me, it would be one of them. But no, so again, that's just a perfect situation. Okay. We have some questions. I'm going to check the questions for a second. Drinking black coffee equals signs of maturity. Yeah. I come from Canada, which is double doubles for coffee. When you go to Tim Hortons and you ask for a double double, in fact, here you have to ask for a black coffee if you want it. Yes, Angelina already answered that, but yes, switching ingredients to a much healthier alternative counts too. In fact, switching ingredients to a healthier alternative. So you don't even have to add the word much, right? It's all in steps. So I mentioned something earlier about training our taste buds. And sometimes, I explain that to the kids that when they try a food for the first time, they won't like it. But if they try it again and again, they may start to like it. It usually takes up to 3 times, right? So I wouldn't go extreme and changing everything and doing drastic changes, but you can make changes throughout a month. You can make changes throughout a week, but it's all those small little changes that will make a difference. Like I explained earlier with the breakfast, like changing one, if we're used to eating a very high caloric breakfast with lots of sugar, no protein, no vegetables, things like that, then making a small little change of even adding something small to it, right? We have this in the 24-day challenge, we say we add by subtraction, right? Or sorry, no, it's the opposite. We subtract by addition, right? So when we say like, oh, I'm just gonna stop all sugar, right? You can't just stop all sugar. You need to add something to it, right? The example I give always is smokers. Like if you've ever smoked or smokers that have quit, and they said, I quit cold turkey, right? Which means that they just quit like that from one day to the next. They just quit. They're usually 5 to 10 pounds heavier than they were when they were smoking. And the reason is because they took out the cigarettes, but they added usually sugar, chips, or some sort of snack. But because they didn't realize it, and they didn't take it into consideration that this would happen, they changed it with things that were convenient and also addictive. So sugar, snacks, fatty foods, things like that. Okay. But if you can go into it knowing that, okay, I'm going to need to replace it with something, I'm going to take it slow and I'm going to pick what I'm going to replace it with. So if you're replacing sugar, you're going to need to replace it with something that is as sweet, that you enjoy as much, that will give you as much dopamine or reward. Okay. So instead of changing all the ingredients or changing, going from the current food to something that's going to be super, super, super healthy, we need to replace it with something that's going to bring us reward for us to continue to choose it. So, and that's the idea why, that's another reason why diets don't work long term. They'll work at the beginning because we have that dopamine rush of following a keto diet. If we start a keto diet, whenever we say no to a certain food, we've seen it, like, either yourself, you probably wouldn't notice, but when your friends say, oh no, it's okay, I can't, I'm on a diet, what they're saying at that time gives them a rush of dopamine because they're saying no to something. It's like a rush, right? And it's not their fault. They sound like douches, right? When they're saying like, no, it's okay, I'm on a diet, right? It's like, why? Just say no. Like, just don't choose it, right? You don't need to say, we say it that way because it gives us a rush, right? I'm on a diet, right? But after a while, we don't get that rush anymore from making that decision. So we don't find the reward in continuing the diet, right? Someone that tries to quit alcohol is the same thing, any addictive substance, okay? Those that do it secretly, that don't say anything, can usually sustain it longer if they can find the reward from doing that. So Victoria's gone, but when we were talking earlier about celebrating wins, that's how important it is. We need to celebrate wins because we need to feel that reward of doing what we're doing. Okay. So you go from 3 sugars in your coffee to 2 sugars in your coffee, celebrate that. Know that that's a reward. Feel good about it. Really feel it because it makes a difference. And you want to be able to continue 2 sugars until you're okay to go to 1, until you're okay to go to black. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Again, it's the same thing. Like, we can take the idea of the dial and replace it in every situation. The dial is the same thing. You need to get used to being okay with only doing a 1. On the days that you're going to be busy and things are going to be hectic and you can't do your 3 or 4 or 5, it's okay to do a 1 because in your mind, you're going to train yourself that at least I'm not at 0. All right, let's go back to Acrobat, and we're going to finish with a little 5 minutes or so. If I know we're running over time, but I started late and Mindy hijacked the beginning of the call. So we're going to have our nutrition dial, our movement dial, our wellness dial, just like the examples I gave, my environment dial, and then there's also a blank one. So you could do this for my parenting dial, right? Some days, if you identify your 0 for your parenting dial to be just giving the kids the tablet, right? That's your 0. That's where you don't want to be. Then what's your 1 going to be, right? So for us, we actually kind of did this, and our zero, we did it with the tablets as being our 0% when we go to restaurants and stuff like that. And from now on, we carry a backpack with a bunch of coloring pencils, clay, coloring books, reading books, things like that, right? We've deleted all games from our phones, so then they know that there's no games anymore on our phones. So that when we're at restaurants, there are no tablets, there are no phones. There is none because we don't have it with us, right? We only bring things that, so they're always coloring, they're always drawing stuff, they're reading, and it's like one of those guilty pleasures that we have. If does anyone know the Daily Stoic? His name is, what's his name again? Ryan Holiday. He also wrote the book The Daily Dad. So it's a daily meditation for parenting, love, and raising great kids. So I have it right in front of me. This is the book here. The Daily Dad. Okay, great book. He follows a lot of Stoicism. So a lot of the teachings are based on old Stoic proverbs and things like that. He once said, I listened to a podcast where he said, there are a few things that I am not guilty of buying for my kids. So if they ever ask for one of these three things, the answer is yes, right away. So one of them was to try new foods. So it doesn't matter what the restaurant is. If one of his kids comes up to him and says, I want to try this new restaurant down the road. Yes. Because we all know how difficult it is to get kids to try new foods. So if the kid wants to try a new food, the answer is yes, right away. Okay. Unless it's like super sugary and fatty and it's not good for you, then you can have a discussion with your kid. But still, then they're still interested in trying new things. Number two is to travel or to go see things, right? The answer is yes. If the kid wants to travel, they want to go see a city or a monument or anything, the answer is yes, right away. And the third one was books. If their kid wants a book, the answer is yes, right away. Right? So for me, like buying my kids books is like a guilty pleasure of mine. I love it. I love it. And we're building like a library because we'll buy them as many books as they want, just because it's great seeing them read. Right. So yeah, so you can build your own dial here. It could also be for work, right? Your zero could be, I'll use myself as an example. So the zero for me would be to work nonstop for 8 hours a day and say no to my kids so I can do more work, right? So the one could be taking a 15-minute break halfway through my day. Because I'm a workaholic, so I'll work every single day. But so for me, if I can just take a 15-minute break throughout the day to either get me to snap out of what I'm doing, to either stretch or to grab something to eat, because I've once worked like 28 hours straight without eating, right? So for me, like taking a 15-minute break is a big deal, right? So yeah, you have an idea. So we'll first start. Let's start with, since you guys are doing, this is going to be easier for you, the movement dial. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you don't have it with you, if you don't have this page with you, then just grab your notes, or even you can write it in the chat. Okay. What would your zero be for your movement? So what is your 0%? So you guys can come off of mute, and I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, Makus, thank you. I'm just reading your message now. That would be great. Activity storybooks, or it's a full moon and they're just being weird. Aren't we weird as well, Joe, during full moons? Maku, can we send you a message? And
yeah, sure. It
it-
happens. I don't know. When I was teaching preschool, there is a time that all of them are, I don't know if it's the full moon, but all of them are acting weird. It's either they're too quiet or they're too rowdy. I would rather have them too rowdy than too quiet.
that's the weird thing, huh? Yeah, yeah. And
But
when I don't hear my
here
kids,
it is. Here it is. For a class that is rowdy, noisy, is a productive class. If
yeah.
the classroom is too quiet, you have to be scared because there's something wrong with the teacher. Either the kids are too scared of the teacher or they're not in harmony with the environment of the school.
Thank you. Now that makes me realize that this class here has been pretty quiet up until you speaking right now, Maku. So there's something wrong with the teacher. Huh? I'm just kidding.
Or they're intimidated usually. Like, or it's because it's the first time, or some of us first time seeing you. So
I'm not. I'm cool. I'm cool. I try to. I try to be. You guys can speak up. I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need. Yeah, I'm not intimidating. I hope. I hope. I hope I don't come off that way. But yeah, thank you for that. That's really great. And I do agree with you that a quiet class or a quiet environment, like if you have kids and it's quiet in the house, it's nice sometimes, but when you realize that it's quiet, that's when it's scary, right? Because if it's quiet, you don't realize that it's quiet. You're like, just working away, this is great. And then, oh, wait a second, it's too quiet.
are they doing something weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with the quiet and they're doing something weird.
But Maku, that would be great. Like we'll send you a message. It'd be great for suggestions if you could spare some time.
Mhm.
Lists of books and stuff. We'll share it in our groups and we'll share it in the app and things. I can't wait to have you on the app. It'd be great to have you in the community. We're almost there. You guys, you'll be in there. It'd be great to have more suggestions like that
Mm.
inside the group. And we're working on a podcast. I don't know if you guys know, but Mindy and I are working on a podcast, so maybe we'll have you on the podcast one day. Okay, so write down, guys, the 0 for your movement. Okay, you can please share it in the chat or even come off of mute and let's hear you. So Angeline, let's start with you. What would be your 0 currently? Because I know you've done this before and you've had multiple zeros. You've gone up. So what was your 0 before or was not your 0 anymore? So what would be your 0 now?
So one of my zeros, with regards to preparing the kids, I just let them do their thing. And I
Mm,
just sit in front of the computer without moving, like everything. So now my dial was raised because I get to prepare. So that's a movement for me because I work during nighttime, and when kids wake up, I'm still doing my shift. So
wow.
instead of me, yeah, it's that's also, well, that's a movement and also a parenting dial. I mean dial, yeah. So instead of me getting up and preparing the breakfast, I asked my eldest son to prepare everything for their breakfast and also his brother. So now what I do is I bring my laptop, I take it I take it to the dining table and cook and just check if there are emails or chats. So that's one. I do movement during every time I prepare their breakfast, and yeah, I assist them. That's movement too. And then another thing is instead of me driving to school, bringing the kids their baon, their lunches, and or fetching Jaden, especially my youngest, during his dismissal time, I walk.
Yes.
Yeah, I walk, and it saves gas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And also I get to spend time with him, especially when we are walking from his school, because I get to ask him questions. What did you do? How was school? What did you learn? Did you have fun and all those stuff? So it's a way of bonding for me and him. which
Yeah.
I love. And yeah, that totally erased my dial because I also have time to spend with them despite of the busy schedules.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great example, and it's a great example that hits many dials. Your movement dial. So I'm talking about the walk from school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Movement dial, your parenting dial, your relationship dial, like everything. It's your wellness dial, right? It touches a lot of different dials, and it's crazy how something as small, a small decision, like I'll just walk instead of driving, can impact so much. And you're also saving on gas. When we drive, we're on autopilot, right? I've seen a difference. Like when I used to walk the kids to school last year, it's a 5-minute walk. It was a 5-minute walk. I would talk to them more. I would know more about them on that 5-minute walk than the hour that it takes us to drive them to Antipolo this year. We're just so used to being in the car and being on autopilot that we don't
Yes,
even notice who's sitting next to us, right?
that's true.
So yeah, when we're moving, when we're walking, we're holding their hands or we're doing something, movement keeps us present, right? I just this yeah, it makes so much sense. Movement, when we're moving, we're being present. How many great ideas have you had while doing a workout? Right? How many great ideas have you had while just going for a walk?
Mm.
Right? When we're moving our bodies, we're also moving our minds. Like our minds are flowing. We're in a state of flow, right? All right. Maku says, since I am not a morning person and my goal is to be a morning person, my zero would be not waking up early to soak up the sun. Okay. So then what would be your one from there? Okay. So we're going to do that. So Andrea, Xian, I hope I'm saying that right, Xian and Claire, once you've identified your zero, what would be your one? So small little action, okay, that would like small. Like I'm talking about 2 minutes to 5 minutes tops, okay? What would be your number one? Something small.
Coach, are we talking about yung overall po or
Just movement for now. Yeah.
specific movement?
Overall is a little bit difficult at first because it could be very, very wide. Like,
Yeah.
so we're
Okay,
gonna start with
movement.
movement first. And the reason why I picked movement for you is you're currently doing the core restoration program. So you could use that as an example, right? The things that you're doing in there could be those small little actions. Because it's something that you have to do, right? So example, your core centric breathing could be your number one, right? It's 5 minutes. That's one of those small little actions. In fact, you could even say, I know Coach Mindy says you have to do 5 minutes, but on those days that I couldn't really do it, I would do at least 3 minutes, right? Or even 2 minutes. So 2 minutes of the core centric breathing could be your number one, right? But so identify what your zero would be. So your zero is like where you were. So as I was explaining earlier, your zero is where you were at your lowest, where at the point where you decided I have to do something about this. Okay. Now it depends on where you are in your journey. Like if you already started your journey way before joining the core restoration program, then your zero won't be like at the beginning of that journey. It could be like just before you started the core restoration program. Your zero can't be too bad, like it can't be like for nutrition. If I'm currently not eating McDonald's, my zero can't be eating McDonald's 3 times a day. Because then my number one will be something I'm not currently doing anyways. So my number one needs to be a step up from what I'm currently doing. Or something that I could rely on when times are tough. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Because we have to be able to rely on the fact that I can always go back to a number one. Right? So if you are currently doing 5 minutes of core centric breathing in all of your workouts, that's great. But again, like I explained, we're at the beginning of the program. You guys will see, and it's actually part of the program. Mindy talks a little bit about it, is that, and we'll talk about it in the check-in calls as well, is that once we reach like week 4, week 5, that's when there's a drop-off. It becomes harder to continue the program. Some of us, it's because we've seen results already. Some of us, because we've seen results and now we're hitting a plateau, so we're thinking it doesn't work anymore. And some of us, it's just because all the things that we've pushed aside are now knocking on our door going, hey, remember me? Like, you've got to do this too. You can't just do that. So we have to adjust. So building that dial now, if you just started the program, it's great. Building a dial now that you can rely on when you get to that point where it's like, wow, it's crazy. I don't know how I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do at least a number one so I can celebrate that win. Because I'm not going back to 0. Okay. So it could be, this wouldn't be for movement because it doesn't really have to do with movement, but maybe your wellness could be joining the check-in calls every week, showing up for the check-in calls every week. Even if it's just, like if it's a problem, the time is a problem or the length of the calls is a problem. They're not always going to be an hour and a half long. Mine usually are an hour and a half long because we dive into more technical things. But your one could be showing up to at least 30 minutes of the call, right? Some people that are in the app, a wellness number one could be showing up in the accountability feed, right? We have a group inside the community on the app that's for accountability, right? So showing up in the accountability feed and saying, hey, I'm here, right? I'm showing up for myself. I'm doing something. I went for my walk today, whatever. That's, that could be number one. Okay. Okay, so once you've created your number one, so you've created your 0, created your number one, what I like usually to do instead of going to a number 2 is I like to create my 10. It's something crazy that would be like, if finances wasn't an issue, knowledge wasn't an issue, meaning that either you know about it or you have the people to teach you. Time wasn't an issue. What would be a perfect circumstance for you? Usually that one's a little bit easier to write down. Okay, once you have your number 10, okay, does anyone want to share their 10 with us? Keeping it a mystery. Go ahead and write it in the chat if you want. The next step, usually I would recommend doing your 5. So what would be a midway point between your 1 and your 10? See, like a number 5 is usually the sweet spot. So here's an example now. Like if you have problems with identifying what your 5 would be, it may be because either your number 10 wasn't high enough, right? You chose something that is actually doable as your number 10. And your number 1 is some. Okay, I'm gonna move this because someone's getting out of the shower right now. Get to know your coaches. Okay. Yeah, if you have problems with your number, identifying your number 5, it's because either your 10 is not high enough or your 1 is too high. Okay, so go back and adapt and modify. So example, like if you chose as your number 1 to do your core-centric breathing and to follow each day of the program, and your number 10 is to run a marathon, let's say. Running a marathon is not doable right now, but it could be pretty soon. I mean, was it Rach that ran the marathon? Yeah, I think she finished the marathon recently. Yeah. We have lots of moms that after doing the program, they go on to running like they used to if you were triathletes that used to do it as well. Not something that's doable right now, but could be in the near future. Your number 5 could be difficult to jot down, right? So choose something else. Make your number 1 more doable. Okay, easier. That's why I mentioned like the 2-minute core-centric breathing or something like that. Okay. All right. So we've got my 10 would be waking up at 6 a.m., doing my daily walks, making breakfast and meals, and completing errands like a boss mom without a hitch. Okay, awesome. So that's your 10. That's actually doable. That's actually doable, right? It could be not doable for you if you don't like waking up at 6 and you wake up at 9 every day, dragging your butt out of bed and, you know, give the kids something like easy to eat and things like that. But small actions will be able to do it. I would say, so Maku, I'd like you to dream a little bit higher there. Maybe be a little bit more specific on what those meals would be, right? Making breakfast could be cereal, right? But be more specific on what those meals would be and what the errands would be. Sometimes when we just need to add a little bit more specifics to them to make it higher. Okay. Xian, my 10 would be to have abs. You already have abs. So you already did it. We all have abs. Some of them are sleeping. Some of them are hiding, but we have abs. So it could be, so dream a little bit bigger to wake it. Well, you're doing the core restoration program, so it'll happen. Dream a little bit higher on that 10, okay? So be more specific again. So it would be to have a toned body like a professional bikini model, let's say, right? So it could be something specific like that. Your 10 would be to, let's say, participate in a bikini competition or whatever, right? Be more specific, dream a little bit higher, right? Because you have abs and you are going to wake your abs because you are currently doing the program for it. My 10 dial is going to the gym uninterrupted, no tasks, no mom duties to think about. My number 5 is doing my daily run for at least 30 minutes. Okay. That's good. So remember here, you said daily run. Okay. So that's your number 5. So daily run for 30 minutes. That means that on average, that's what you're aiming for. So a number 5 should be very doable. Okay. So as you increase, how would you then, okay, so this is a next step. You have to think about this, right? Because you still have 5 to 10 to fill out, and you still have from 1 to 5 to fill out. So your 5 has to be your average. Something that you could do on a daily basis that takes a little bit of willpower, a little bit of planning, but is doable. Your 10 is something that probably will never happen, okay? But you still have to strive for. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't write down abs. Maku, don't write down waking up at 6 a.m., doing daily walks and making breakfast and doing your errands, because that's doable. Like that is actually what's demanded of us on a day-to-day, right? So dream a little bit higher. Okay. My 10 would be to go back into kickboxing and do Pilates. My 5, complete the full week activities of the program. So again, Andrea, dream a little bit bigger, put some details into it. So what does going back to kickboxing mean? Does it mean going back to kickboxing and becoming, so let's say I want to go back into mixed martial arts, but that could be once a week, right? Going back into mixed martial arts and becoming a black belt. I mean, that's time consuming, right? If you're a white belt and you want to go back into mixed martial arts and become a black belt, that's dreaming, right? That's something that, like, that's a goal, not really a 10, right? Again, yeah, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say, like, it's not a 10. 10 is something that you could do. So if you look at the examples, a 10 is living on a farm, growing all of my produce, having pigs and chickens for eggs and pork, and having cows growing, and having a chef cook all my meals, and that's a 10, right? That's not a goal. Oh, it could be a goal, but that's a 10. So like on a day-to-day basis, can I do that? Okay. So Andrea, rephrase that into my 10 being training for competitive kickboxing. Okay. And doing while doing Pilates 5 times a week. Yeah. With a world-renowned coach. Okay. So all those things depend on a lot of things, depend on time, depend on ability, depend on money, right? Location, things like that. So Angeline, same thing. So you're 10, going to the gym uninterrupted, no tasks, no mom duties to think about. Go into the details a little bit more. So my 10 would be going to the gym uninterrupted because I would have done all my tasks. I would have, blah, 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 blah. So why would it be uninterrupted? Because I now hired people to be able to do some work for me, right? Going to the gym uninterrupted could be because I've now built a home gym, so I don't need to go anywhere, right? Or it could be if you are a gym goer and you like going to the gym, going to a state-of-the-art gym and with a highly regarded coach or trainer, right? If you like group classes, then it's that, or if you have a certain gym in mind that is financially out of your price range right now, right? What type of equipment would be there? You don't need to go into so much details, but just have yourself, just give yourself a picture in your mind. Like, what would that look like? It's almost like picturing your perfect day. Like what would my perfect day be? Right? Mindy and I did that once in our coaching program, and we had to write down what our perfect day would look like. Right? So if you woke up in the morning and you didn't have any, of course you have responsibilities, right? I don't think it would be a perfect day without responsibilities. I want to be able to do things and accomplish things, right? In fact, being a workaholic and a perfectionist, it's part of my perfect day is to accomplish things. But our perfect day was like, driving, what was it? We both ended up writing the same thing. It was like, we open up the curtains and we see either, like, she had the beach, I had the mountains. And we wake up on time, we wake up the kids, and we've already made breakfast, and we've had time to do stretching and meditation. and then we drive the kids to school, and we put the dog in the car, and then we drive the kids to school. We come back to our studio where we help a few clients and we run a morning class, and then blah, 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 and the day progressed, right? So we went into details to make it more visual for us that we can actually see it. Okay, so again, bump up your number 10 a little bit. If you need to, I haven't seen any ones yet. Okay, a one, I had an idea for you, Maku. A one would be to, if you're used to pressing the snooze button, a one could be not pressing the snooze button. Okay, that could be included in your movement. If you can't do your movement right now because you keep on pressing the snooze button, right, and waking up later, then your one would be not pressing the snooze button, getting out of bed before. Hey, I pressed it twice this morning. Like, I'm going through a tough time. Like, I pressed it twice this morning. So I'm with you, right? But that's what I mean. Like, think about what is needed for you to do your movement. So you can have things on your movement dial that doesn't include movement, but it's necessary for you to do it. That's a small little action that can make you better tomorrow. Another example, or tomorrow or now or today, right? Another example would be setting out my gym clothes on the bed or next to the bed so that when I wake up, I can just put it on right now, right away. Or if you work out at home and you have a gym mat, a yoga mat, set it out, roll it out the morning, the evening before you go to bed. You know, so as we have these calls, there's tons of ideas, that things that you can do to either make it easier, make it visible, okay, or make it harder for you to do the bad habit, right? So to build a habit, if you guys like reading and you read a lot of books and you read self-help books, Atomic Habits is a must, okay? In fact, in our Thrive program, we actually use a lot of the tips that James Clear talks about in his book. If you like to follow people on Instagram that give tips like that, James Clear, okay? I'm gonna write it out here. James Clear, okay? The book is called Atomic Habits, okay? Atomic Habits. Part of building a habit, and like I explained earlier with the subtracting by addition, right? So if you want to reduce your sugar, you need to add something that will take its place. And you slowly add more of, let's say, the vegetable or the fruits so that you remove the cookies, right? If you're used to snacking at night with chips and cookies and sweets and all things, then replace it with something else. So at first, you're still going to have that bowl of chips, right? A bowl, not a bag, because then you can control the portion, right? And then you add some grapes to it, right? Chips, grapes, chips, grapes, chips, grapes. And as the week progresses, you put less chips in and more grapes. And you see that all of a sudden you have less chips, more grapes, maybe you add yogurt. So then you have grapes and yogurt eventually, right? So you're adding protein. At first, you didn't have any protein, you just had carbs and carbs, right? But you're replacing the fatty, salty carbs, the processed stuff, with more carbs, right? But at least it's healthier. You got vitamins and minerals in there, and then you're adding protein. See the idea of subtracting by addition, right? We are creatures of routines, right? We need to add things, or else we feel deprived, we feel empty. And when we feel empty, now this is a psychological side of eating. Okay, so I'm going down a rabbit hole, but when we feel empty, we need to fill that up, and we fill it up with food or addictive behaviors, like scrolling and things like that, right? So subtract by addition, right? The idea of building a habit is that you need to make it easy to do, easy to see, Or if you're trying to get rid of a bad habit, you need to make it difficult to do, right? So I've gone as far as, if I had a client that was a workaholic and they would, in the middle of the afternoon, go and grab chips and things it was always. We learned that it was a pattern, that he had a daily meeting on Zoom. He worked from home, and he had a daily meeting on Zoom, and every day after that meeting, he would go to the kitchen and get food, right? And what we did was we interrupted that pattern with exercise. So when he stepped into the office in the morning, the night before, so when he would get ready for bed or finish his day in the office, he would set a kettlebell in the doorway. Okay. So before entering, he had to step over that kettlebell. So you may as well do a couple of kettlebell swings. Then he would go sit down. The kettlebell would still be there, right? So when he would leave the office, may as well do a couple of kettlebell swings. You have to step over it, right? So that habit of going to the kitchen and getting a snack was interrupted by a healthy habit, right? So small little actions can go a long way into building new ones. So the idea of the number one, okay, is think, how can I become better tomorrow? What can I do to become better tomorrow? It's not your goal. Your goal is, let's say, to become someone that can work out or prioritize movement, prioritize healthy choices. That's your goal, right? But what can you do now to be able to get to there? You have to change your behavior. So one step at a time. So take it one step at a time. Create something that's easy to do on your dial, okay? And raises in complexity as you go, okay? So I know I've bombarded you with a lot of information today, okay? But it's all in, the goal is to help you realize that it doesn't need to be complicated, okay? But there are a lot of limiting beliefs that are stopping us from doing the easy things, right? Take it one step at a time. Start to build new patterns. Start to create new routines. Celebrate those routines so that you can feel the reward and want to keep doing them. So when someone says, "What is your win?" Celebrate it, okay? Recognize them. Embrace the small actions. And when you're used to doing a 3, a 4, a 5 on your dial, and one day you need to go back to a 1, celebrate that. Celebrate it more than doing a 5 on your dial. And maybe, why do we need to celebrate a 1 more than we need to celebrate a 5? So that when we need to dial it back down to a 1, it's because our lives depend on it. And the fact that you didn't go to a 0 and you still did a 1 and you accepted it and you celebrated it, that's going to build resiliency in you. That's going to make you want to go ahead and always show up. Okay? The reason is in that screen right there. Your kids, your baby. We're doing it for them. They deserve for us not to be at a 0. They deserve for us to show up every day. You deserve to show up for yourself every day. Okay? So please, 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 please share the dial with us. I want you to take some time. Take some time. You don't need to do it right away, okay? But start to write it out. In your Facebook Messenger groups, share, take screenshots, even if you're not done. You did your 0, you did your 1, but you're struggling with your 10, or you did your 1, your 10, and your 5, or you did it all. Take screenshots, show us your progress, okay? I'm not in your messenger groups, but Angeline is, and Mindy is. So they'll be able to share it with me. They'll be able to share your questions with me and I'll answer your questions. I want to see that progress. I want to see those wins as well. Okay. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a long call. I don't get to coach the dial all that much lately. So that's why it was a little bit long. And I just gave so much information, but hopefully you took a lot out of it. And if you have any questions, please get back to us inside your messenger groups. And please, like I said, please share. Okay. Show up for yourself. A lot of it is accountability. And when we share with others, that's the accountability. You don't have to share all your wins. You can share your struggles as well. That is a win in itself. Okay. Okay. So have a great lunch, everyone. And I'll see you on the next call soon. Okay. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, baby.